Okay, I'm going to go over how to print all this stuff. I know this video is not ideal. I apologize in advance. I tried a couple of different other things, but I do not have a mic that's high enough quality. We're going to work on that. So we're going to talk about how to print the version 2 chain system and some of the settings. And we'll start with this bed. So I'll be switching back here between Cura and Fusion. So here's your bed, pretty straightforward. You're going to print it sitting like this. Now if you have an Ender 5, you need to make sure your bed size is set to 235, which is the actual size of the bed. So go into your machine settings and check that. You're going to want to print this solid with supports on the build plate only. No, I take that back. Because you have this right here, you're going to want to print this supports everywhere, and that is going to give you supports in these little holes. But that's going to be the only difference. So probably 0.12 layer height. Say print this at about 35 to 40 speed. Maybe you can go a little faster depending on the quality of your machine. I recommend a brim for this part, and also these supports can get up underneath the front end here, or there's supports right here, and there's air gaps, and sometimes if you're too cool in your ambient, air will get underneath there and cause this to curl. So sometimes what we do when it's cold is we'll take a little piece of cardboard and we'll put it around here, and we might use taller cardboard as we print. What that is a heat dam, and that's going to block air from getting up underneath the front of that and causing this end to curl up. So you have 4 of these bed parts, and they're all going to print the same. On the side bed, is going to be the same. On here you just really need support on the bed plate for the rest of these. If they don't, trying to think about that. That is correct. As long as you don't have this notch right here, you don't need support everywhere. And I think that's only on the Z tray. So moving right along, the axis cover. You want to print this upside down. Alright, and you're going to want to go into, let's see if I have this accidentally already open. I don't. Let's go ahead and send this off to Cura. So this one, depending on how good your printer is, you can bridge this top. But if you do put supports in, they're very easy to remove. So you might want to just go ahead and go support everywhere. So the one thing on this, you're going to want to flip it to the 180. Well, it's probably 90. Then you're going to want to select it and hit the mirroring tool. And you're going to want to flip this axis right here, and that'll allow it to work for the new setup. You might want to consider printing this at a 0.1 layer and a slow speed, and maybe even a brim to make sure it stays sitting on the top. And I believe. The other thing on this, you probably want to go with a where am I at? Support density probably can go to 8 on this part right here to help the supports easier, make them easier to remove. I believe we're good on that part. Also, all of this stuff I recommend printing solid, so 100% infill. Oop, what am I doing? So we're going to want to print this like this, and you're going to want support everywhere. Actually, I think you can just do support on build plate. I believe these will print fine, or fine enough. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember taking a support off this right here. So it's up to you. This probably could be printed out without supports. If you do hit support everywhere, you will get some supports in here. Thinking you will get a support. I don't recommend. Do support build plate only on this part. Next part. So you're going to want to print this in this position right here, and you're going to want support on your, whoa, what just happened? You're going to want support on your build plate. Huh. Alright, moving right along. The hot end bracket will print sitting just like this, and it needs support everywhere, so you can get a support right here. So set support to everywhere. Print this nice and slow. You have a curve right here, so you might want to put your support angle down to about 45 to 50%. Next part. This is the bracket to relocate the power box. I'm having a heck of a time here. So there you see your holes. So you're going to want to print this like this on the bed. And this is the only part that doesn't need to be 100% fill. Probably could go with 20% fill on this. And this is the companion part, and it's going to print just like this. And again, 20% will be fine. This is our spool relocation bracket. We're going to want to print it like this. We're going to want to print this 100% solid. We want this to be really, really strong. Print it at 100%. So as you see right over here, we have a two-color axis cover for people that do dual extrusion, and we will if you do decide to use this, you're going to want to open both parts, and before you change the orientation of them inside Cura, you're going to want to select your colors, merge the part, then flip it to its proper print orientation. This is another part that should be solid, and you see you got little bumps on the side, so just make sure they are touching the build plate. So print it like this. This is the wire box. I recommend this be print solid too for strength. You're going to want support everywhere, and you're going to want to set your supports to 89 degrees angle, so that we only get support on our 90-degree spots, because we don't want any supports being built in around here. So 89. When you print, if you only want supports on angles that are 90 degrees, then go ahead and use the 89. That is an excellent setting for supports. And and you probably could bump the speed up a little bit on this. Alright, next. This is our wire box cover, and you should print it straight up and down. And what that'll do, nice and slow, straight up and down, and that's going to make sure that our curved edges are nice and pretty and slide into our wire box. Go ahead and print this with support everywhere, and it'll build you a little support right up in here. Make sure that comes out pretty. There's one other part we can talk about, which I probably will include, and that is going to be the lock nuts. These are the bed nuts. And I haven't really ever talked about how to print these. A couple things are going to be really, really important when you print these. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and just we're going to go ahead and send this over to Kira. Didn't I already send some over to Kira too? Oh yeah, the lock cover, the access cover. We showed how to change the orientation on that. So we're waiting for the lock nut to load into Kira here. Here she comes. So this is our lock nut, and this does take a little bit of proper setups to get it to come out nice. So you can print this either way. If you print it the other orientation, you're going to have some supports to pull out. And we're going to want to print this at all those other parts except for the access cover. We probably want to print at 0.12. 0.1 for the access cover, 0.1 for this I recommend. A couple of settings here. One is we always talk about our setups that we'd like to add a little bit of extra layer width and layer flow. Whenever you're printing on top of supports, you don't want to do that, or your filament's going to get mushed down into your support and it's going to be ugly. So I'm going to go with a little bit still. I'm going to go ahead and lower that line width to 0.5. I'm sorry, 105%. And we're going to go to want to go to infill density of 100% with cubic infill. And I want to show you guys something here real quick. Let's slice this and look at the preview. So if you look, when I slice it cubic, it's going to look like it doesn't have 100% fill, but they're just doing the lines like that so you can see which direction the infill lines are going. And what this does right here is this changes the direction. We'll try a different one and you will see. And you see it change the direction of these lines. So for mostly you're going to want cubic. Is going to work fine for most of what you do. I'm going to keep on moving along. Now we want to print these as low a temperature as possible. eSun PLA Plus, a lot of times you can get away with 205. See if you can. If not, you might want to bump that up as high as 208. Of course, that's going to be printer specific for the most part. So this is our first layer flow, and we have an option. We can keep this at 105 maybe, or 100. So I'm going to go with 105. Speed, we want this to be pretty. If you're doing the tiny nut for the bed, you might want to go real low. Maybe as low as 25, 30, somewhere in there. It's fine. Cooling, 30 to 40 is probably fine. So here is your support. First we're going to start with raft, and then we're going to go to support. So we need a raft on this, and there's two settings you can make. One is the extra margin is not necessary. Smooth that down to 1. And there's a raft print speed right here. Way too slow. Go ahead and bump that up to 50. It'll be fine. And now we're going to go to our support. So we want supports that are going to be able to easily be removed and they're not supporting a lot of weight. And when that's the case, usually you can go to 8%. However, what that does is that puts the supports further away from each other. So what we want is we're going to want to go with 20% on this, and that will make sure that our supports are nice and tight and make our part look nice and pretty. So your overhang angle, I'm going to go ahead and bump this all the way down to 45 because I really want support on all these rounded sides as it prints. The better the support, the better the part will come out looking. So I believe that's going to take care of how to print this stuff. We'll just kind of take one last quick peek through it, make sure I didn't miss anything. And something like this where it's not going to matter, we're going to set it to everywhere. Although even touching build plate is going to give you the, it's not going to be any difference between touching build plate and everywhere on this. And just go ahead and should have just left it right here. And you can see what it's going to build for us. And it's going to build us a nice support system. Alright everybody, I believe that should cover it all. If anybody has any questions, hit me up on our group and we will address them. Good luck.